Hello, and welcome to the Gamer's Closet. I'm your host, Douglas Wheat, and today we're going to be talking about the Civil War game, 1863. This is a board game manufactured in 1961 by Parker Brothers Incorporated. It is technically the second edition of the game, as the game was originally released by Life magazine in 1961 and was designed by 3 Life magazine staff members. The game is a 2-player game, which is a point-to-point movement game, where you play as either the Union or Confederate military. Playtime is about 30 minutes to an hour, depending on how involved you get with it, and it is recommended for ages 10 and up. But let's dig into it a little further, shall we? At the beginning of the year 1863, the Confederate and Union armies were closely balanced. Either side could still win. There were differences. The North had more troops, while the South had better ones with more mobility. But the decisive battles lay in the future. Final victory would be determined by the same factors for the Union and Confederacy alike: sufficient fighting strength at the right place at the right time, daring and clever tactics, and luck. The player of this game must fight the same even fight. The same skill, daring, and luck will be required if either player wants to win. The object of this game is to eliminate all the troops of your opponent or to place them into such a position that they agree to surrender. The game equipment consists of a playing board, 15 blue and 10 gray square infantry pieces, 2 blue and 4 gray triangular cavalry pieces, 3 blue gunboats, 1 gray gunboat, 8 gray stands, 8 blue stands, 5 Confederate flags, 4 Union flags, 3 disabled markers, and 6 doubling pieces. The player who agrees to be the Union commander sits on the northern side of the board near the Great Lakes. The other player commands the Confederate armies and sits on the southern side of the board near the Gulf of Mexico. Each player takes all of the plastic pieces of their color, blue for Union and gray for Confederate, and places them on the board on the spaces indicated. All the Confederate units start on the gray squares with the white circles, and all the Union units start on the white squares with blue circles. Each circle indicates the number and type of units to be placed on it. Infantry units may move 1 square in any direction, horizontally, vertically, or diagonally on each turn. They may move only on squares containing land area unless they have boarded one of their own gunboats on a preceding turn, in which case they may go to sea. They may never move onto a square containing mountains except on a space through which a railroad runs. Cavalry units may move 1 or 2 squares on each turn, horizontally, vertically, or diagonally. They may move 1 square in any direction and another square in a different direction on the same turn. Like infantry, they may move only on squares containing land areas. They may cross mountains freely, but may not ride on gunboats. Gunboats may move 1 or 2 spaces on any turn along the course of a navigatable river or on the open sea. They may carry infantry units on long-term distances. If a square contains any land, it may be used by ground units. If a square contains any water, it may be used by gunboats. Thus, cavalry units, infantry units, and gunboats may move over or occupy spaces through which a river runs. The commander of the Confederate forces always has the first turn. Each player on their turn may move all of their pieces, or as many of them as they wish, provided that each piece is moved only once and only the number of spaces permitted to it. Each piece may be moved separately, or any number of pieces may be stacked in 1 square. Pieces stacked on 1 square may be moved together onto another square. If there are any infantry units in this group, the group may not move more than 1 space. However, pieces that are stacked may be separated and moved individually. Each player must have moved at least 1 unit on their turn. When a player has moved as many of the pieces as they wish, their turn ends. As a means of moving troops, the railroads play an important part in this game. Any infantry piece or pieces on a railroad at the start of a player's turn may move up to 3 spaces along the railroad. Cavalry pieces may not ride the railroad, but may move their regular 1 or 2 spaces along the railroad beds. Enemy units can be prevented from riding the railroad by moving any cavalry, infantry, or gunboats onto an unoccupied section of track between the two cities. This move cuts the section of railroad involved, and the enemy units can't ride over it while it remains cut. The occupation of a city at one end of a railroad does not cut a railroad. Whenever a railroad section is cut, the enemy cannot move 3 squares on a turn along the railroad, but may move their infantry or cavalry along the beds at normal speed. Infantry units may not move onto a space which is occupied even partially by mountains, except when riding a railroad or marching along the railroad bed. Infantry units may move through the mountain passes in a diagonal direction. Cavalry units may move through the mountain areas at their normal speeds without any hindrance. Enemy troops can be eliminated or removed from the game in 3 ways: in a battle, by capturing a key city, or by capturing the enemy capital. Battles are fought when an attacking force, which can be 1 unit or a stack of several units, moves onto a square containing an enemy force. The outcome of the battle depends on the number of pieces in the attacking and defending forces. Each type of unit, infantry, cavalry, or gunboats, counts as the same in a battle. When a larger force attacks a smaller one, the smaller defending forces lose 1 more unit than the larger attacking force. The total number of units eliminated is determined by the attacking player. For example, if a 5-unit Confederate force attacks a 3-unit Union force, the attacking Confederate commander may choose one of 3 options. Option 1 is to eliminate all 3 Union units and thus lose 2 of their own. Option 2, to eliminate 2 Union units while losing 1 of their own. Or 3, to eliminate only 1 Union unit without losing any forces of his own. Eliminated pieces are removed from the board and are thus out of action for the rest of the game. When the victorious commander has attacked an enemy force consisting of more than 1 unit, but does not choose to eliminate the entire force, they have the right to declare which enemy units, infantry, cavalry, or gunboats, are eliminated from the force. After the battle, the surviving defeated troops, if any, get an immediate extra move in any direction. These units can be moved again on their regular turn. When a force attacks an enemy force of the same size, which is an even battle, a coin is tossed. All units on the losing side are eliminated, and the winning side is reduced to 1. Key cities are shown on the board with 5 pointed stars. The North has 4: St. Louis, Indianapolis, Pittsburgh, and Baltimore. The South has 3: Chattanooga, Charleston, and Atlanta. A key city is captured when an enemy unit enters it unopposed or in a battle. When the Confederates capture a key city in the industrialized North, the Northern commander must remove 2 of their pieces. When a Southern city is captured, the Southern commander must remove 1 of their pieces. The player who loses a key city has the choice of which of the pieces anywhere on the board that will be removed. Each capital or key city can be captured for troop destroying purposes only once in a game. The capturing force should fly its flag on the city to show that it has been captured. By doing that, you place a flag in a plastic holder stand. Subsequent occupation of the city by either side will not eliminate more units, except those units which may be lost in a battle fought within the city itself. By placing a fortification marker, the doubling pieces, on top of the troops in a key city, but not in a capital, the fighting strength of these troops is doubled. Place the fortification marker in the plastic stand for the corresponding city. 2 pieces fortified equal 4 units in a battle for the city. It takes 1 turn to fortify troops in a key city. Troops cannot be moved into a city and fortified on the same turn. It takes another turn to remove the symbol. Fortifications may not be removed and troops moved out of the city on the same turn. Gunboats cannot be fortified. Troops can be moved into a city already fortified as reinforcements. Each new unit moved into a fortified city counts as 2, but these troops cannot be moved out again until the fortification marker has been removed. Of course, troops not in a fortified city are not affected and may be moved as usual. Washington and Richmond are the 2 capitals. They are captured when an enemy unit wins a battle for the city. If the North captures Richmond, the Confederate commander must remove 5 of their units from any square on the board in which they may select. If the South captures Washington, the Union commander must remove 6 of their own pieces in the same fashion. Washington and Richmond are defended by permanent fortifications. Washington's are equal to 4 units and Richmond's to 5. These are permanent garrisons protecting the capitals whether or not there are other forces there. They count just like regular troops and are added to any that may be there in a battle for the capital. Since they are not represented by actual pieces, they cannot move. The last type of action in this game is called a sacrifice battle. Sacrifice battles can be fought to delay an advance of a hostile army. This is done by sending a single unit to attack a larger force. Although the lone attacker is wiped out, the hostile army is immobilized for a turn. This is shown by immediately placing a disabled marker on the large force. A smaller force cannot attack a larger force except in a sacrifice battle, in which case the attacking force must consist of only one unit. Place the disabled marker on the plastic stand and place the stand on top of the defending force. The game may be won in 2 ways. The first is a player eliminates all of the enemy troops. Second, when one of the 2 players surrenders. If both sides are reduced to 1 piece, the game is considered a stalemate. Well, this has been an overview of the Civil War game 1863 from Parker Brothers. It is a good game, I would say that. It stands up to games today. It hasn't really lost anything, especially it being 50 years old. The game itself is a little on... I wouldn't call it an introductory strategy game, but I wouldn't say that it's advanced. It's more like a medium-based game. It's got really simplistic rules, but for what you get out of it, it is a little more on the complexity side. So I would say it's a good game to move on to, say, like from combat or some of the other basic introductory strategy games. If you haven't played strategy games before, I would recommend playing it. It is a good game. It is relatively easy to find. You can find it on eBay for about 20 bucks, so it's not really difficult to find as games go. You just have to look for it. It's a little more of a niche game, but I would honestly recommend playing this game if you haven't played it before. Well, that's it from us here at the Gamer's Closet. We'd like to thank you for checking out our video on the Civil War game 1863 by Parker Brothers. If there is a game that you would like us to discuss in the future or to review, please put it in the comments below. Please hit the subscribe button so that way you can be the first to check out our new content. And as always, please have a great gaming day.